live on YouTube. I'm going to be answering the astrology questions, metaphysical questions, questions about your natal charts. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below. I see some of you guys in the chat already. Welcome, you guys. If you guys are watching the replay, or if you guys are in the chat and you guys want your own natal chart reading, progress natal chart reading, synastry reading, the information for all of that is going to be in the description box below. You guys can send me an email window should pop up, and then we will go from there. Hey everyone, how you guys doing? Hey Concern, hey Mary. And yes, also, I love that you guys put your comments in the chat. So for the people who are watching the live replay, if you guys have any questions and you guys aren't able to join the lives, like while I am live, you guys can always put your questions in this chat before I go on live. Usually I set the date or like the time, like a little bit before I'm gonna go live. So you guys can always put the comments and questions in there, and then I will answer the questions when I'm live. So welcome everyone, I'm answering astrology questions, metaphysical questions, questions about your natal charts. Hey Concern, so you made a new evil eye bracelet. That's awesome. Good for you. I hope you don't get too emotionally attached to it, because usually the evil eye items are meant to be lost. I actually had an evil eye bracelet that I really liked. I mean, it was just plain. It was like a red string with an evil eye on it. But the thing is, I was never able to find the same one. That's the struggle. So it is what it is. Hey Mary, you said, hello Barbara, hello Mary. You said Aquarius Sun, Sagittarius rising, Virgo moon, and then you have Neptune in Scorpio. So Neptune in Scorpio is going to be the subset of your generation overall. Hey Edward, you're early. That's so awesome. You said, how are we doing today? Any aspects today? Did not keep track. Something was in the air today. To be honest with you guys, the energy this week is way better than last week. I am waiting for this whole Samhain Halloween portal to close, because it has definitely been intense. It is the period of time when they have like the most amount of RITUALS things taking place, and then plus Pluto's back in Capricorn, so it's definitely been energetically intense. So it feels lighter this week than last week, but last week was definitely intense. At least that's what I was picking up on. So I don't know what's going on astrologically, other than like Pluto being back in Capricorn, which is just like intense on its own. So Neptune and Scorpio is going to be your overall generation, okay? So for the external planets, all of you guys basically share the sign, okay? So the subset of your generation and yourself, you guys are clearing something karmically amongst each other, okay? For yourselves, for the family line, and then for the collective as a whole, okay? So Neptune and Scorpio, I'm curious to know what your Saturn is in as well. Because Neptune and Scorpio, that's like things that you don't necessarily see clearly when it comes to sexuality, vulnerability, expressing your emotions. The sacral chakra is you and a subset of your generation basically as a whole. Hey Luna, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you're here. How are you doing? And then Aquarius Sun, Sag rising. Yeah, you basically need freedom, okay? That's the name of the game for you. And then the Virgo moon is actually really psychic, you all. So Virgo is able to take the Piscean psychic information and like act on it. Do you know what I mean? Because Pisces sometimes just like gets lost in the clouds, lost in the ethers, lost in like the psychic realms, but then Virgo like gets the idea, acts on it, gets the idea, acts on it. So having a Virgo moon is actually a very psychic moon. But yes, for you, freedom is the name of the game with the Aquarius Sun and the Sag rising in there. Hey everyone, you said Saturn in Capricorn. Interesting, your Saturn is in Capricorn. That's really interesting. You said, hi, OMG, you're so happy. Yay, I'm so glad that you're here. Ask a question, 12th house moon. I'll get to you guys in just a second. At the top there, you said 12th house moon. Yay, I hope you are feeling amazing too. Yes, that's good, Luna, that you feel well. I'm good. You said, okay, so 12th house moon and Capricorn in general, and also psychic gifts. Are you blocked or not by Saturn? You said 12th house moon, and then is your moon in Capricorn? Is that what's going on in there? Can you let me know? Hey Jayhan, how are you all doing? You said synchronicity and numerology. You were just given a ticket while standing in line. The number is your year of birth. Interesting. I know that's so interesting when you start to notice like certain numbers and how they start to follow you around. It's really interesting how that becomes a thing. You said, what can you do to heal the shadows with your Lilith and Leo in the 4th house? Okay, so the Leo shadows, the biggest one for them, I find, is the fear of rejection, okay? And they can actually also have a lot of pride, because the Leo energy can deal with the solar plexus, aka the ego. It's actually kind of like solar plexus and heart chakra at the same time, because Leo is like a big-hearted individual usually, right? But Leo wants to be seen, they want to be on that stage, but they can struggle in exactly that area, right? So you might have a fear of rejection in terms of putting yourself out there. Sometimes Leo like wants to have the crowd right away. They want to have the accolades right away. So it's like sometimes you kind of have to play like energetically with yourself kind of thing. kind of like the placebo effect. So it's like when you start something, you have to like envision a crowd there. Do you know what I mean? Until you actually kind of get the crowd going, because everybody starts at zero. That's the thing to understand. I mean, obviously, unless you are part of certain groups and then, you know, all of that. But the everyday person is going to start at zero, right? So when you're starting at zero, sometimes for Leo energy, like they can kind of have this like embarrassment energy connected to them, where it's like a chicken and the egg type of thing with Leo, you know? Because it's like they want to be seen, they really want to be seen, but then like if they put themselves out there and then they don't get the validation or like the crowd right away, then they might feel embarrassed, or it's like, again, they don't get that validation. Do you know what I mean? So it's like this whole like internal conflict and dilemma. And then when Leo goes into the shadow, especially because you have it in Lilith, then it can be kind of like any attention is good attention. So you can have a lot of like dramas taking place in your everyday life. So for you, in your case, obviously you have the free will to do what you want, but figuring out something that is going to be an outlet for your creativity, basically, okay? Is that taking an improv class? Is that doing like a speaking type of class? Do you know what I mean? Is that starting your own social media page? You know what I mean? Something where you get to be on that stage, right? And it'll help you build that solar plexus chakra, okay? Basically the confidence, the ego, the identity, the sense of self. And eventually if you're persistent, okay, because that's like when Leo goes out of Leo into Virgo, Virgo is now perfecting the craft that Leo has chosen, right? So when you go into that energy, right, you are now going to be perfecting whatever it is that you're doing. And the more that you are perfecting it, you know what I mean? It's like this whole cycle, because then you become more confident and so on and so forth. So that's kind of one of the things that you can do. Hey, Anita, how are you doing? Hey, Ruben, how are you guys doing? You said no, they are both in the 12th house. Can you let me know what is in the 12th house? Because here you said 12th house moon and Capricorn in general, and also psychic gifts or not, are you blocked by Saturn? So what, okay, are you saying that Capricorn is also in your 12th house? What's your moon in? When you're saying both are in the 12th house, what sign is your moon in? Okay, let me know what sign and house is your moon in, and are you saying that your Capricorn energy is overall in the 12th house? Because I'm curious to know where you're getting this, are you blocked by Saturn situation. You said yes. Okay, great. Give me 1 second. Yeah, you said we definitely need a tri-vibe next Monday, the day before the US elections. Oh my goodness, this entire time I thought it was on November 19th, and then my friend was like, oh, what are your thoughts on like what's gonna take place next week? And I was like, what do you mean next week? Because in my mind it was kind of like, I don't know why in my mind it was like November 19th is the day that Pluto is leaving Capricorn, and then the US election is going to be on that day, but it's actually next week. So yes, definitely we're gonna need a lot of prayers, because everyone is very, very polarized. So we're gonna have to send good vibes, you guys, on that particular day. Okay, you said yes, we should do that. Absolutely, we should. We absolutely should send good vibes, good energies. Although, to be honest with you all, kind of like what I was picking up on energetically has like dissipated. Is that the word? Like I was picking up on a lot of chaos energy, but I'm not picking up on that anymore. It's like everything that's kind of like attempted by the dark gets like energetically blocked. So I do feel like people's vibes are helping. So it's like, even though I do feel like it's going to be polarizing, I still don't feel like, because before I was kind of tapping into, you know, like people are polarized and there could be chaos and so on and so forth, like regardless of who wins. But like now I'm kind of tapping into just like that not actually happening anymore, which is so nice, okay? So it kind of feels like whatever the dark tries to do, like they're not getting the outcome that they want anymore, which is so nice, you know what I mean? Because it's like, how do I explain it? It's like a visual that I'm getting, like, you know, like, it's like literally an energy where it's like, I can't even explain it. It's basically like something that like is like so like intense, and then it just like now like deflates. Like the only way I can explain it is kind of like a balloon. Do you know what I mean? It's like a balloon that's not tied. It's like it's all full, but it's like, you know, as you let it go, it just like slowly like deflates. Like that's kind of what I'm getting energetically. I hope that makes sense. I hope you guys are following. So it's like I don't really see there being like any sort of like intense chaos. Like I was saying like intensity originally. That's why I didn't want to speak anything originally when I was like picking up on that, but I don't see that anymore, so that's good. So some sort of timeline was like diverted or shifted, or like people are just ascending, so it could be this. Let's see what else you guys saying in here. Okay, I'll get to, okay, yes, so you agreed, and then you said that your moon is in the 12th house, it's in Capricorn. That's an interesting question, if you could be blocked by Capricorn. I don't necessarily see that necessarily taking place. The moon in Capricorn is a little bit of a struggle because it's like oppositional to moon in Cancer, where it's like Cancer rules the moon. So it depends. I'd have to look at your chart to see what else is going on in there, because you could have aspects that are basically kind of like diluting that energy and like allowing you to be a little bit more psychically inclined. But the thing is, like, even having Capricorn in your 12th house, like, I don't see that being quote unquote blocked by Saturn. I see that being like more so like a grounded psychic ability, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Because it's Capricorn. So it's like Capricorn's all about hustle, but it's in the 12th house. So it's kind of like when you get the information, you could be a little bit more practical in the way you're going about things instead of going too far into the crown chakra. I'm really curious to know if you have any sort of moon, like Neptune aspects taking place. That's just kind of like what I'm picking up on, some sort of energy. You said midheaven in Gemini, what to look for. What would you like to know? Oh my gosh, hey from Indonesia. Hey. Oh my goodness. How are you guys doing? What time is it over there? Thank you, Concerned. I'm so glad. You said, do I have any insight on the red string theory? Actually, that's such a thing. That is such a thing. But then also it's not a thing. Okay, you guys, let me tell you a story about this, like some version of this red string theory when like people are so oblivious. So back in the day, I lived in a city, and then I would go to school, my university in a different city, okay? And then to get to that school, I would have to take this bus, okay, to get to the school, which was in a different city, okay? So there's that part of the story. And then at the same time, I was working in retail, which was in the city where I was living in. I hope you guys are following, okay? So during this period of time, it was so interesting because, okay, so I would have to take the city bus to get to like the bus station. That's like the intercity bus. And I would take that bus to go to the school, whatever. Okay, I hope you guys are following. So there's different buses and different cities involved in the story, okay? So first I started seeing this person, okay, on the bus itself, the city bus, right? And I'm like, okay, I see this person every morning. We're probably on the same schedule, okay? And then came a different period of time where this person came into the store where I was working, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so interesting. Like, now I see this person all the time where I'm working. Like, how are we like on this frequency or whatever? But it didn't say anything. Like, I just left it. Later on, when I went to my school in a different city, I saw the person at the school in the different city. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, how are we like this aligned? Like, we're always ending up in the same places, okay? So then an opportunity came up where me and this person actually spoke, and I was like, oh my goodness, because I thought like I was noticing them, so I thought they were noticing me, because it's like we're literally on the same schedule here, like what's going on, right? So when we got the opportunity to speak, I was like, oh my goodness, like I would see you here, and then I would see you here, and they were like literally like freaked out. They're like, oh my gosh, like how do you know? And I'm like, hold on a second, like I would see you, like how are you not noticing me? But some people are just oblivious, so there's that. Let's see, I'm just going back up. You said Virgo sun and Mercury in the 12th house. After turning 33, you feel more planets of the 11th house. Does that make sense? Did you look at your progress chart? Maybe something took place. You're welcome. You said at least you feel more comfortable. You said more nicer times, at least you feel more comfortable in the last week. Yeah, this week is definitely better energetically than last week. I don't know what was going on last week. Like there was some dark energy around. It was so dark last week. Oh my goodness. I was like not about it. Like it was just so intense. And now finally there's like this relief of energy. So it's nice to know that we're getting to like the end of like that Samhain portal. You said, can I tell you what's the karma of Virgo ruling the 12th house with Mercury and Sagittarius in the 3rd house? And then you said you also have your moon, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus all conjunct in Capricorn. So interesting. I was picking up on a moon Neptune aspect taking place, and here's someone with that energy. So you have moon, Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus. You know what's interesting? When I see a lot of aspects to the moon, that's a lot of karma. Usually, to me, what it signifies is a lot of karma with the mother specifically. If it's not the mother, it'll be the dominant feminine role in your life. If it's not this person, it's going to be like women in your life or feminines in your life, okay? So when I see a lot of moon aspects, because today I was looking some random person's chart and I'm up and I was like, oh my gosh, like this person has no sun aspect, but so many moon aspects. So I was thinking to myself and I was like, okay, no karma with like the masculine energy in their life, but a lot of karma with the feminine energy in their life. So for you, there's a lot of karma surrounding like the home and the feminine. So you could probably be very psychic and intuitive and like very unique. Hold on, give me 1 second. Okay, I'm back. So basically with that energy, you could be very intuitive and like futuristic in terms of like the way that you think, but then there's like the restriction. So the restriction could be maybe like in terms of the home and the upbringing, like there could be a lot of like for example, because it's moon Saturn, like it could have been a traditional home, a traditional upbringing, so you could like fear fully expressing the self, which is that Uranus energy, or maybe fully speaking, let's say your truth, if it's like something creative you want to do, or like your psychic gifts and abilities and these types of things, but it's all connected to the home. And again, you know, it's usually the mother, if it's not the mother, dominant feminine role in your life, right? So whoever took on that role, if the roles are reversed, you would look at that person, okay? So that's kind of how it works. So the Saturn energy is kind of like restricting you in this like energy of like the self-expression, creative expression, right? And that's what's actually ultimately going to emotionally fulfill you. So you're going to have to kind of energetically overcome that energetic restriction that's taking place, okay? Or that Saturn energy in there. Now, karma of Virgo ruling the 12th house, that's an interesting energy when you have Virgo ruling the 12th house, because you can become very critical of the world. Do you know what I mean? Like this energy can really go into isolation and like really like disconnect from the world and like see everything as just like, I don't want to say like negative, but like critical. Do you know what I mean? Or you could even like really analyze like psychic information that you receive and like these types of things, okay? So that's kind of like what's going on with Virgo ruling that 12th house. Mercury and Sag is interesting because these people are usually really intelligent, but Mercury falls here because it's ruled by Gemini. So it's like sometimes like these people can be too forceful in the way that they're delivering information and like these types of things. So it's interesting. It could be something that you're meant to master, just like how are you going to deliver information, but you can also be very persuasive. Like you could be a good salesperson as well with like that Mercury and Sagittarius. So, and you can also be really funny. Hey, Lydia, how are you doing? Oh my gosh, absolutely. You can ask a metaphysical question. Yes. 1 second. I don't give any sort of financial advice, but if you would like to know anything about finances in terms of your own natal chart, you can look at the second house, you can look at the A house, you can look at the aspects, all these types of things. You can look at the whole house. Do you have any sort of stelliums taking place? There's a lot to look at. You can even look at like your life path number to see like where you could potentially be making money. So there's a lot of things to look at. So just like the month and the day isn't really going to give too much information. You said Pluto's second house. How do you know if you mastered the money karma? Is it when you value other things like peace of heart instead of money? Exactly. It's when you let go. Okay. So that's the thing with the Pluto placement, you guys. It's so ironic, okay? Because it's like a paradox, the energy, wherever you guys have Pluto in your natal charts, because it's like when you're young, you feel powerless in that area. When you're older, you try to control it. It's that pendulum swing that I tell you guys about a lot of the time. And eventually you have to learn to surrender. And the second you surrender and the second you let go and you're like, okay, whatever, right? Like whatever happens, happens. That's when the influx of the energy comes towards you. So Pluto in the second house, yes, absolutely can be a wealth placement, but at the same time, Pluto deals with karma and it can deal with debts, right? So in like the pursuit of like trying to get the money, trying to get the gains, trying to get the wealth, like all these types of things, you could even put yourself into debt, for example, or you can go into like gambling. Do you know what I mean? Because it's Pluto, and at the same time, what's energetically happening behind the scenes is like you're trying to control it. When you're trying to control it, you're pushing it away, okay? You have to not think about it. That's why it's like a little bit of a struggle, right? The whole concept of surrender, because it's like, you know, with Pluto in the second house, a lot of the time, these people grow up either in environments where there is a struggle with finances or focus on money, right? So it's like the money could be there, but there could be a focus on money and it could be a negative focus on money. So like, let's say it was like a wealthy family, right? But it's like the money could have been weaponized, for example, and then you have this like negative relationship with money. And it's like with the Pluto in the second house, you always feel like there isn't enough. Do you know what I mean? Even if it's there. So for example, like let's say for Pluto in the second house, like these people could feel like they have to have like a certain amount in their bank account to like feel happy and safe, right? So then you have to explore, because all of that is connected to your root chakra, it's connected to your feeling of safety and security, right? So if you're able to get to the place in your life where you're like, okay, I am comfortable with what I have, you know, this, I have that, like in terms of material items, I don't need more, you'll see that everything comes towards you. So it's kind of like ironic, you know? But overall, this earth plane operates in irony. You said, what are my thoughts on tarot, astrology, and divination? You know, religious texts, they say not to worship any idols other than God. Are there hidden meanings? Okay, I'll tell you guys my interpretation of it, so you guys can take it with a grain of salt, and as usual, take what resonates and leave behind what does not, okay? First of all of these religious texts have been tampered, okay? So there's two truths and a lie in a lot of these religious texts. So you want to look at the origins of the text, and you have to decipher what it is that they're trying to say, because a lot of them are actually teaching metaphysical concepts that people don't understand because they have a very linear perception on things, and it's like a consciousness type of thing, okay? So you have to dig in deep and see within all of them, because I think there's truth in all of them, and you kind of have to put the picture together for yourself, right? So the thing is, in terms of them like condemning things like astrology and tarot, first of all, it's like sometimes people dabble into things and they don't know what they're dabbling into. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, in terms of, for example, like a Ouija board, right? It's like when you're a kid and you get a Ouija board and you're like, oh my gosh, like, you know, we can like connect to spirits and it's gonna be so fun. And it's like you do it, but it's like then you open up this portal. Do you know what I mean? Because you're not necessarily aware of how to work with the energy. And then it's like now this entity has latched onto you and it's kind of like, okay, now this entity is following you around kind of thing, right? Or whatever, right? So the thing is, in my opinion, right, it's like, I think it's kind of like a caution thing, because it's like you have to have a certain amount of spiritual awareness of how the energies work. And like in a lot of like ancient traditions, like people weren't given spiritual knowledge until they reached a certain age, right? Because sometimes people can like use it in a shadow sense. I mean, we already know a lot of people are using it in a shadow sense in this world, right? But it's like, if you don't know what to do with it, it's kind of like with great power comes great responsibility kind of thing, if that makes sense, right? So it's kind of like for some people, it's like if you don't know anything about the psychic world and you're just kind of like going around opening up portals without realizing, it's probably better for you to not engage with it, right? Until you have the awareness of what's going on, how to protect yourself energetically, how to protect yourself spiritually, how to close these energies, right? And these types of things, okay? So there's that part of it. Now, the other part of it, personally, like in terms of predictive readings and like worshiping people, right? The thing is like everybody who is like predicting the future, the thing is the future technically doesn't exist yet, okay? So I'm gonna take you guys into the crown chakra, okay? So the future technically does not exist yet. Now, the thing is, the people who operate this plane, they try to steer the collective in a specific direction through, I'm sure you guys have heard like the predictive programming and like the imagery and all these types of things, because the thing is they use the energy of the collective to create some sort of future outcome that they want, right? That's why a lot of things are not working anymore, because we have the internet and the information is so fast. People's focus is all over the place. So it's not focused energy anymore how it used to be once back in the day, right? So the thing is, like, I think another reason why they say like, don't listen to psychics or future things or predictive things and these types of things, because it's like sometimes those things aren't fully formed yet. Do you know what I mean? And then at the same time, it's like a karmic thing. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like tying you karmically or energetically tying you to that particular person who is giving this information, right? Even the person who's trying to elevate themselves and be like, oh, I know the information, I know all these things, even they technically don't know, because it's like, again, the future is not fully decided. Now, I've explained this before and I hope you guys can follow. Back in the day, it was easier to tap into future outcomes, right? Because the collective was on like a linear trajectory, right? More of the consciousness was just like in the same vibrational field, right? Because again, the internet has broke through a lot of these things, right? Because a lot of us are able to talk. So it's like, you know, it's a very dense period of time. So it's like, it's easier to tap into a potential outcome because it's like the collective is already energetically heading there. So that's the thing, like even when you do a reading for someone, right? And you're predicting something for that person, if they're on that energetic path, right? Like let's say they're engaging in shadow behaviors, those things are probably going to happen for them if they don't change their behaviors. But you can go tomorrow, right? Wake up tomorrow and be like, okay, like now I'm just like gonna do this other thing. For example, like, okay, let me give you guys an example because this literally happened in my past, right? So one time when I was working, so this is back when I was getting like more into like, you know, like divination tools and these types of things. So I had like my psychic friends and I was still working corporate, right? So during that period of time, it was really interesting because it's like me and my friend had like a pendulum. So we would just like ask it questions because we thought it was like so fun or whatever, right? So I remember like one time I asked my friend the question and I was like, okay, like when am I going to leave this job? Okay. And I remember specifically it was 2 years, right? So that period of time, that was the energetic path that I was on, right? But at that job, something that I had to master was speaking up, right? And standing up for myself. So as soon as that took place, right? Basically that timeline got cut short, okay? Because of the fact, and then we asked like the pendulum again, and I think it ended up being like 2 weeks and then I ended up leaving like very, very quickly after that because like quote unquote, like master whatever was like supposed to take place during that period of time. So that's the thing. It like depends what's going on energetically and vibrationally with you. What timeline are you on? Like what timeline are you on? Like have you mastered all of these things like the lower chakra wounds and these types of things, right? Because it's like eventually when you break free from all these things, you're not really affected by a lot of things anymore. I hope that makes sense, okay? You said that goes to show how powerful our awareness and certain things are. Exactly. And earlier in this live, I was telling you guys what I was originally picking up on, and that's why I didn't want to speak it, right? And it's like, because when someone speaks something, then if you have a certain amount of people, right, and they're tapping into that timeline, they can actually manifest it. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's complex because it's like down here, it's like kind of what's happening is like, we're basically bound by like the Saturnian energy that's taking place around the plane, but you have to break out of that. So that's why you have to learn your astrological codes and your woundings and like your shadow, behaviors and your blind spots and like whatever way, shape or form you guys want to look at it. Okay. When you master these things and you're not operating in those lower vibrational behaviors anymore, then you're kind of operating outside of this energetic structure. And it's only at that point in time, I personally believe, this is my own opinion, you are now accessing the free will. But up until that point, if you're operating unconsciously, you're unconsciously playing out your astrology, okay? So that's why also at the same time, it's like, again, even with astrology, right? Like you want to learn astrology to break out of the energetic structure that's taking place around the earth plane, okay? But you don't want to feed into it in terms of like what's happening with this transit. What's happening with that transit, okay? Because that's a form of control that's taking place down here on this earth plane. I really, really hope that makes sense, okay? So it's like once you learn it, you're able to break free from it and then you operate outside of it. I hope that makes sense, okay? Thank you guys. You guys are so awesome. You said, do I believe you can get in touch with your past family members because you've asked your sister to come with you with a sign and she asked, yeah, that's the thing. Absolutely, you can connect with them. You can always connect with them, but it's like, again, it depends, right? How does your gift work for you? Because I think everyone has a gift in one way, shape, or form. I think some people are just more psychically open than others, but I think you can absolutely tap into these things. Oh, I'm so happy, Riley. Yay. I'm so glad. Yes, absolutely. I'm glad that you guys understand. And for the people that maybe don't understand right now, you will understand at a future point in time, because basically that's where the collective is going. Do you know what I mean? We're heading in a certain direction. So a lot of things in the past that I would think about, a lot of people are talking about now, right? So what I'm talking about now, maybe in the next 2 months or whatever, it depends on the person, right? Like it depends when it like clicks for the person, It's gonna be like, okay, yes, that made sense. So you guys always gotta speak your truth, basically. You said you have a Capricorn stellium in the 3rd house, mostly personal planets. Any insight on that? That's very karmic. That's a lot of intensity. And also you're basically meant to master the material plane in this lifetime, like money and finances and wealth and elevate the financial status of the family line now, and the social status too. Now, when you have that energy, it would probably be beneficial for you to learn about money, finances, how does money work, investments, all these types of things, okay? When you have that Capricorn energy, because like the Capricorn energy is going to work in your favor to basically break free from that energy is basically what it is, okay? You said, so would I say you don't pay attention to transits in your energy? I don't pay attention. You said now you know so much about astrology, how to use astrology for your growth. It's exactly this, okay? So it's about catching your shadow traits and when you might act in a shadow behavior in a certain situation, right? But eventually you get to the point where you come into that awareness and you're like, okay, these are things that I have done in the past. Like for example, when you look at all the signs, you will look at the shadow traits that each sign has, right? And then it's like you can kind of look and see like what's the divine version of that sign. Most people go into the shadow traits first, okay? So for example, earlier we were talking about Leo, right? A lot of the time, Leo wants to be seen, for example, but Leo at the same time struggles with being seen and they struggle with rejection. So this is now something that you have to work on and you have to integrate within yourself. That's the thing, right? And it's like, this is kind of how it's helping us come more into our self-alignment, right? Because it's kind of like when you're in your truth, right? Whatever your truth is, most people don't even know what they are. There's people out here that are having discussions whether or not humans have a soul, okay? It's so interesting to me because it's like, okay, some people are there, right? But it's like at the same time, those people, that's where they're at. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, you can't have a conversation with those people because like, that's just like the consciousness level that they're at. So it's like, maybe they're going to have a few more reincarnation cycles, right? Or whatever it is. So that's the whole thing here. So the thing is, the way that I see it is like, if you want to come into your full, self-alignment, your ultimate truth, you have to integrate the lower chakra wounds. You have to integrate all of the deceptions that take place down here on this earth plane. You have to not give into them. You have to not give into any of these like temptations. And again, relating it back to the religious texts, right? That's what they were trying to teach people ultimately at the end of the day. Now, the fact that somebody took those, pieces of information and, put them into like broken telephone and uses them for like power and control, and maybe there's a lot of text that like people don't even have access to. It's like you have to sit with the information. You have to be like, okay, like does this resonate or does this not resonate? Most people listen to things and they're like, okay, I'm just gonna do this. But it's like if you're doing something without understanding why you're doing it, then it's like, you know, it just doesn't make sense to do that. Like it just has to, you know, make sense for you if you're gonna do something. You know what I mean? Otherwise, it's just someone that's pumping you with information. That's why I always say to you guys, it's like take things as they resonate, you know? Even when I'm like sharing things with you guys. So that's what it is. God bless you guys as well. You guys are so awesome. Oh my gosh, did you pick up on the dark energy too? Last week was so dark. It started last Sunday. It literally started last Sunday. So recently I heard, and it's so interesting how the information comes up again, because this was someone who was mentioning this last year and somehow it popped up on my feed, and they were basically talking about how there's a portal from October 13th until the 31st, and it popped up on my feed last week, or no, the week, or a few days before, whatever. It was like at some point in time within like the last few days. And they were basically saying how like, I mean, I already knew that they do a lot of like rituals, like, especially during Scorpio season, but especially like around Halloween, because that's when the veil is the thinnest. And then at the same time, there's like a lot of death because of the fact that the veil is the thinnest during this period of time. So yeah, it's this, just precautions, like try to keep your aura closed, try to not engage in any substances. Because you know what's interesting, you guys? I remember back in the day, like when I used to drink alcohol and I would go outside, like out, I mean, and like, you know, we would go out for Halloween, even back then, okay, when I was like in my undergrad and these types of things, like even back then, me and my friends came to the conclusion, like around Halloween, this is before I found out about any of these like pieces of information. Even back then, we used to say like, oh my gosh, Halloween is always so demonic, like something always, you know, dark happens around Halloween, or like people's demons come out, like we would say things like that. And like, okay, part of the thing could be like people are like wearing masks, and like because they're wearing masks, like they're hiding. So like maybe that's one of the reasons, but it's like actually because the energy is just like really dark overall, right? There's a lot of like, again, these things that take place like from like the dark side. So it just is what it is. And then at the same time, you have people's shadows coming to the surface. So it's a lot basically. So if you can keep your aura closed, keep yourself like energetically protected, you know, again, try to keep your vibration high, like don't engage again in any substances if you don't have to, right? Anything that's going to affect your sleep is also going to lower your vibration if you're like overly stressed. You know, like if you go to the gym, it's going to raise your vibration, or, you know, doing things that you love, or like dance, or like whatever it is, walking, like these types of things. But yeah, it was very, very dark last week. So I'm not sure like exactly what the reason was. Maybe it was just like the transition into Scorpio season, but it's never been that dark before. Like it was very, very intense. So something was energetically probably happening behind the scenes. Hey everybody, how you guys doing? You said that's crazy because literally today you had a dream that your dad was saying there's dark energy around you. Exactly. And it's like, okay, I think I was saying this to you guys in one of my lives earlier, like during Pluto and Capricorn, because it's like the end of the Pluto and Capricorn era, like I personally feel like they're going to try to pull the timelines back. I think I was saying that to you guys at one point in time. So it's like you guys don't want to feed into the energy. You just kind of want to like acknowledge it and observe it, but not feed into it. And especially if you're someone who's clairsentient, like don't merge to it, you know? Because a lot of the time clairsentient people merge to the energy and then you internalize it and you're like, oh my gosh, like you think that it's your own stuff, but it's just like the energies that are like looming around. Because even last week, also what happened was like in the evening, I went for a walk and I was like, okay, I'm like, what is going on here? I'm like, it literally feels like there's like entities roaming around like all over the place. Again, maybe there were certain things that were taking place. Maybe certain things were being conjured. Because you guys, you know what? Oh my gosh, let me tell you guys this story. Hold on a second. Okay, let me tell you guys this story. So, okay, get ready for this, okay? So during the April 8th eclipse, right? I was like looking for things to do. I was like, oh my gosh, like, let me see what I could do. Like, let me go to a meditation or something like that, okay? So I find something online that I can go to, and this was like so interesting how this whole situation took place, but it's like, it just goes to show you like this plane is like a plane of duality. There's like the dark people who engage in like dark activities, and then you have the light people who are kind of being placed in certain places to basically balance and counteract the dark energies, okay? So basically what took place that day, so after the eclipse, this is in the evening, okay? So basically what's taking place, I was like, okay, let me go to a meditation, like let me see what there is, and then I find something, right? I'm like, okay, and it's like I don't even want to like verbalize like this goddess that they were calling in or whatever, because I'm not trying to call in that dark energy, but the way this like goddess was named was like, it was like a French word. So in my mind, because like I speak French too, I was like, oh, okay, it means this, right? Like I didn't realize it was a goddess. I just assumed like because it was a French word, like that's like the theme or whatever of like the meditation. I hope that makes sense, right? So I was like, okay, whatever. So I didn't think anything of it. So I get there, okay, you guys, and like they're handing out like these like little pieces of paper and these like booklets and like all of these like incantations and like, and this is like a small group, okay? This is like a small group. So like picture this, right? It's just one random small group. Like think about how many other like groups like this exist, right? And it's like, as soon as I saw their symbol for like their group, right? I was like, okay, this is not of the light. Like I was like, the symbol that they use for their group like gives me some sort of dark energy. It had a lot of like pointy edges. It's not something that like is like common. It's like their logo, I guess, but it was like very dark, right? And it was like really interesting because then they were like, okay, like this is what we're gonna do, and like we're gonna like all like chant this together. And I'm like, yeah, in my head, I'm like, absolutely not, I'm not chanting this. So the entire time, and at the same time, I was like, okay, well, I got here and it's a small group, so I'm like, okay, well, I can't leave because I'm like, if I leave, then it's gonna be obvious that I'm leaving. I'm not trying to like get their dark energy directed towards me, right? So I was like, I'm gonna stay, but I'm not gonna engage, I'm not gonna interact. In my mind, I'm like, I'm literally gonna pray like energy of light, right? But basically while they're like doing all these chanting like things, right? And like, okay guys, literally the chanting that they were doing, they had to like hit the table, like it was like literally like some sort of like RITUAL that they were doing, and they were like inviting the energy for themselves because they're basically trying to harness it for whatever that was for, okay? I don't know if it was for, you know, a certain part like thing that they're trying to bring through or whatever, right? Anyways, so long story short, so I'm sitting there and like they're chanting and I'm praying, and in my mind I'm like counteracting the energy, and it was so interesting because like their main leader person, it was like, and by the way, like this wasn't like the place where it was looked like a meeting room. Like this is what I mean, like it could literally be people that you would never expect, right? Like the place where they were holding this event was like a meeting table, and everyone's like sitting around the table, and there's like other things that are happening in like the other like meeting rooms, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't something where like you enter and you're like, okay, this is giving me a weird vibe. Like it wasn't like that at all. It seemed like something like, you know, like people are meeting up, like literally, right? So anyways, so while they're doing that, I'm praying in my mind, right? Like I'm bringing through like light energy, and I'm like, I'm counteracting this. I was like, my intention is so strong. The main person starts like tripping over their words, and I'm like, oh my goodness. In my head, I'm like, literally, this is why I was sent here, to counteract whatever it is that they're trying to bring through. So they had like a little intermission. I was like, oh yeah, I gotta go or whatever. And then I just like left. And anyways, that's my story about all that. Yay, yes, definitely. If you guys want your own natal chart reading, if you guys want your own synastry reading, if you guys want your own progressed natal chart reading, you guys can go on my website, okay? If you guys are watching the replay, it's going to be in the description box below, okay? And then when you guys go under the readings tab, you guys can select what reading you want, and then an email window should pop up, okay? You guys send me an email, and then we'll go from there. I'll tell you guys what the turnaround time is, and I'll send you the rest of the information, okay? How are you guys doing? Exactly, you said we are modern nowadays. You don't do it in like dark corners and dark places. Exactly, it's like literally like out in broad daylight. Hey everyone, you said you lost 300 pounds in 18 months. Oh, that's awesome, naturally. And you have Jupiter in Virgo, Aries, Sun, and Leo rising, and born on the day. Thank you for the super chat. You said the 3/22 day. And then you said, does this explain why you lost so much weight and you didn't? Okay, so part of it is the fact that you have Jupiter in Virgo. Like Jupiter in Virgo is actually very lucky when it comes to health. Okay, you guys, so you probably, here's the thing with Jupiter, you guys. So with Jupiter is basically going to kind of like bless you guys, but like within a limit. You know what I mean? Like if you start to take too much advantage of the energy, then it's like, it's not gonna help you or bless you anymore. I hope that makes sense, right? Like you can really push it to the max, right? So it's the fact that you have Jupiter in Virgo, okay? When it comes to health, you were lucky, right? And probably your higher self kind of like picked up on when it was time to like pull it all back in. So good for you, okay? But it doesn't mean to go into hedonism once again, right? Because like sometimes with the Jupiter placement, people are like, oh, I got away with it last time, so I'm gonna, you know, try to get away with it again, right? Another thing with Jupiter and Virgo is also like you're lucky when it comes to work, so. And then at the same time, you could also look at the transits and see what was going on with all of that. But good for you, honestly, that's awesome. I don't do time rectification. No, I don't like, the thing is, okay, here's the thing. So here's the thing, like I can guess, I think I can get like pretty close, but I don't do it professionally. That's the thing, okay? So I'm pretty good at like picking up on when it could be, because I look at the person, Saturn pretty much, okay? It's usually the Saturn sign, like not the sign, but the house is gonna give you a lot of information as to what was like, what's taking place, like what's your struggle in life. But also at the same time, I always say to people, look at the ascendant, the midheaven, and then the IC axis. That's gonna give you a lot of information as well. But I don't do it professionally, so I just kind of do it like when I'm thinking, and like I think about it so much, and I'm like, okay, does this fit? And then I play around with the numbers And yeah, but I don't do it professionally. You said literally, how do you separate yourself from the energy when you're clairsentient? Yeah, you're gonna have to, I know it's kind of like a slogan, but part of it is like you have to raise your vibration and you have to not feed into it. Do you know what I mean? Like it's sometimes you just have to be aware and you're like, okay, I just need to ride out this wave of whatever is going on here, like energetically, like whatever's taking place, but like you don't feed into it. So sometimes that can mean like, you know, maybe like during that period of time where you're picking up on the dark energy, like, you know, you're kind of a little bit more to yourself, right? You're not engaging maybe with like, you know, everybody, right? Because then like everybody's being affected at the same time. And it's like when you're someone who has a lot of light energy and you're a high vibrational person, usually the people with the dark energy are going to come at you, okay? Or like their demons are going to come at you. So things like this. You said, thank you for, oh my gosh, I'm so happy to close your aura. Yes, it makes a difference. This is what I try to explain to you guys, right? And again, I personally learned through experience. So the thing is, if you're already a little bit out of body, AKA you are, you know, someone who's clairsentient, you are maybe a water sign dominant person or a water dominant person, or you're a 12th house person, or like, you know, your houses are maybe in the 8th house or the 4th house, you are energetically open, okay? That's the thing. Like everyone is clairsentient in their own way, but a lot of the time, people who are maybe more in the masculine energy, like they don't necessarily like absorb it as much. It's kind of like you guys have to look at it as like a sponge, right? So it's like when you're energetically open, you have to figure out how to close your aura, right? So if you guys are interested in learning more and that resonates with you, check out my video, how to stay grounded as a 12th house person, okay? Even if you're not a 12th house person, it's probably gonna resonate with you because all of those, you know, tips and techniques and these types of things, right? I'm probably going to assist you in your journey to close your aura, right? Because we don't want to be purging for your, you know, everyday like neighbor or whoever, right? Because it's like, why should you be doing that? You know, it's just like wasting your own energy. And that usually happens when you're energetically porous, right? Like you're open energetically, and then you're merging to everybody around you. So it's this. You said in a recent video I mentioned, if this is correct, that you could feel heavy energies. Do I pick up on this? Yeah, I feel into the energies in the reading. Like I'm very psychic, okay? So I'm clairsentient, clairvoyant, I am claircognizant as well, clairaudient. Like, you know, it comes through at different times, but usually like when I'm doing the reading for you guys, and this is why I send you guys a pre-recorded video, because when I start talking, the information starts coming through. So it's like, you guys can always ask me questions before the reading or after the reading, absolutely. But it's like, it's a train of thought, right? As I'm looking at things and then everything's connecting and this connects to this and this connects to that. And then I'm feeling things and then I'm seeing things. So I tell you guys everything that comes through in the reading, okay? So I pick up on absolutely everything. I can always pick up on energy, even like the random person that's like wherever. Do you know what I mean? Let's say I'm at the grocery store sometimes. If I, you know, focus on that person, right? Or like they pass by, I'm gonna be like, okay, like there's something going on with this person, or they'd have like a dark energy around them. Cause like there's someone actually recently that I met, and this person kind of has this like dark cloud around them, you know? And sometimes this can be like unprocessed trauma and like these type of things. So like then I would focus, like let's say someone that I'm like curious, like I'm like, okay, what is it? Then I focus on the energy and I'm like trying to like figure out like what's going on energetically with this person. And usually I feel it, like I feel it in my chakras, okay, within my body. So like for me, the chakras are a reference point, right? So I can always sense like where someone is vibrating at energetically. So like, are they vibrating out of like a lot of fear, right? That's gonna usually be like the solar plexus chakra, but like in the shadow, okay? If they have, let's say, like a lot of sexual energy, you know, or like let's say they are operating out of like the root, or like let's say they are light energy, right? Or like let's say they have a suppressed throat, like wherever, right? Like I'll pick up on it energetically, like within myself usually. You said 12th house, a lot of people don't understand that exactly. Thank you, DJ. Thank you for the super chat. You said you're a 12th house Cancer and it's tough for you to stay fit year round. You can watch my video about it, how to stay grounded with your placement. Your question is, how do you know which Claire you are? Honestly, if you're Cancer and if you're the 12th house, you could be clairsentient. So you could be everything that I was saying about merging energies. It's usually people who are clairsentient, okay? So it's like you're open energetically. And if you're in the Cancer energy, you probably like, here's the thing, for people who have Cancer energy in their chart, first of all, you have like abandonment energy that you're carrying from past lives or like previous lifetimes. Thank you guys. Oh my gosh, thank you guys for the super chats. You guys are so awesome. Okay, so you probably have like a lot of, not you, but like everybody who has Cancer energy in their charts, okay? They carry like past lives of like abandonment or like orphan energy and like these types of things, okay? So you already carry that within you, and then you incarnate into this lifetime, and there's usually a theme around family, okay? So maybe in this lifetime, it's the first lifetime where you have a family and you didn't have a family in a previous lifetime. So it's like you're trying to create that family feel or that family dynamic. like these types of things, okay? Basically. So it's like, if it's not with your immediate family, then you might be trying to create it with other people. So it's like, it's something going on with like your emotional world is basically what that is, okay? So it's like, you have to resolve your emotional world first, okay? And then you start to take off everybody's energy off of you, okay? Because you probably have internalized a lot of other people's things, okay? And I feel like that's energetically affecting you, because your first question was about the weight. I feel like you're carrying a lot of weight that's not yours, okay? So you guys will see a lot of the time people who are healers or who, absorb a lot of other people's energies, you will see, okay, it will affect their weight, okay? I mean, obviously this has, like, if we were to go deeper into it, there's a lot of other things that could be taking place with weight as well. But sometimes, okay, it can mean that you have absorbed a lot of people's energies, right? So you would have to take some time and like take off a lot of these energies off of you, right? And or things that you may have internalized that might have not necessarily been yours, okay? So maybe writing, journaling will help you, okay, with this journey of like unweaving the web, okay? Because you want to get to the root of it all, okay? Is basically what that is, okay? Because it could be like something to do with like you being energetically protected or something of that sort, okay? I hope that makes sense. Thank you, Edward. You guys are so awesome. Oh my gosh, concern. No, I didn't. No. Definitely not. I have met a lot of people and a lot of like wide range of energies. So, even when people have shadow traits, it doesn't mean that they have darkness within them, okay? Because again, there's different types of dark energies, because then the super intense dark energies that are within people, like, are usually people who are engaging in some sort of dark magic, black magic, like something like nefarious, you know what I mean? So like, I can sense the range because again, I've interacted with a lot of different people, right? So it's like sometimes people have shadow traits, but it doesn't mean you're a dark person. It just means there's something there that needs to be resolved. You know what I mean? But it's like people who are engaging and like, again, shadow types of magic activities and these types of things, like that's a specific type of darkness. Do you know what I mean? So, it's this. You said you feel connected. You said, one second here, I clicked on something on the screen. Okay, so you said you feel connected to your grandpa and from time to time a certain family member or certain family members and how their past lives pre-birth are shaping. Oh, that's awesome. You said, hold on a second. Okay, good. I'm so glad that resonated. I don't remember what I was saying, but I was saying something. That's good. You said, that goes to show how powerful exactly. That's exactly what it is, you guys. So back in the day, right, especially while we were in the age of Pisces, right? And this is why a lot of consciousness for people has been like opened up, right? Because back in the day, it was like focused on like a certain show. And like, again, when you tap into the energy, it's linear. Like that's kind of what I was explaining to you guys earlier. It's more dense energetically, okay? So back in the day, people's consciousness, right, was kind of, funneled through or channeled through a specific show that you would watch or a movie, right? And again, because the collective would all focus on that, right, it was easier to quote unquote control people, right? These days, it's social media, right? So you get this information, you get that information, you get that. Do you know what I mean? So it's like the energy is kind of like bouncing all over the place. Like I always talk about it in terms of like particles is really what that is. You said currently you're on a day 4 fast. You feel this is the main way you can keep your spirits strong. So that's another thing, you guys. Again, you guys always listen to your intuition when it comes to things. If you're feeling called to do something, there's probably a reason for it. So it's like sometimes if you guys are trying to raise your vibration or elevate your vibration, you might feel called, whether you're like consciously doing it or it's like you're not aware like why you're being called to do this. But sometimes it deals with like fasting, or it deals with like eating like higher vibrational foods, or like cutting certain things out, or like not eating so much processed food. And it's like something is taking place here to energetically cleanse you, okay? It's basically what that is. So that's why you'll see this. And again, see, this is what I mean, okay? This is what I was saying to you guys earlier in the video as well, okay? Like this is like, it's interesting because in a lot of, again, religious scriptures, they had these themes, right? They had these themes of fasting. Now, what types of fasts they do are different, right? Like from religion to religion, but there's still the theme of fasting. You are purifying your vessel, right? You're trying to keep your vibration high energetically, okay? Which is so interesting because that's one of the reasons why I personally stopped eating meat, right? It has nothing to do with anything other than the fact, because like what I was picking up on was like when I was eating meat, I was picking up on the fear energy that was in the animal, right? And I came to that conclusion actually when I ate halal meat for the first time, and I was like, why does it taste so good? And I thought about it so much. I'm like, why does it taste so good? Why does it taste so good? And it's like, in a way, they do their own ritual to cleanse the meat, right? before people consume it, right? And I was like, okay, so there's something going on energetically and vibrationally. And then when you eat this other type of meat, well, it's like, you know, maybe the animal was in fear, you don't know what kind of conditions they were in, like so on and so forth, right? So if you're someone who's energetically sensitive, like you'll pick up on these things, right? So it's this, always listen to your intuition, right? Because I know some people who went from like, you know, they were vegetarian, they were vegan, and then they were called to eat meat again. Do you know what I mean? Maybe they need more grounding. So it's like, it's from person to person again. So it's like, just always listen to your intuition and kind of like whatever is resonating for you during that period of time. There's like a reason that you're being called to do it is basically what that is, okay? You said when you eat meat, you feel so lethargic. Again, it's in a way like you are taking on the energy of another being, right? So it's like your energy field, it makes sense why you feel more lethargic, right? Because it's like it's not clear anymore, if that makes sense, right? You said we used to have, interesting, yeah, exactly. You said nowadays since CV, you enter the time frame where every person, and exactly, it's the internet too. It's awesome. Again, see, it's like interesting because it's like, part of their intention with that was like trying to create like a virtual WORLD, okay? I'm speaking between the worlds. I mean, interesting, I said worlds. I'm speaking between the lines. It's so interesting when those things come through, okay? So I'm speaking between the lines here, but that's what they were trying to do with all of that. But at the same time, it backfired. Like everything that they try to do. And it's so interesting to me because it's like, I still don't understand how people don't get, like when they try to control something, usually you get like the opposite effect. Do you know what I mean? It like backfires on you. And not only does it backfire on you, like when you're trying to control an outcome, you usually get like the complete opposite effect of like what you were trying to achieve. So it's really interesting. You said, could caffeine sensitivity be shown in your birth chart? Potentially. Let's see. So interesting. Yeah, it depends. Honestly, you said Pluto in Aquarius is the time frame for the world. Exactly, from the people. Exactly. And not only that, but we're going into the age of Aquarius. Hold on, you guys. I'm going to turn the light on. BRB. All right, I am back. Yes, absolutely. You can go on my website. So I don't think you can see the description like while I'm live, but you can go under the About tab, okay, on my YouTube channel, okay, and under the About tab, you will find my website, and you go under the Readings tab on my actual website, okay, and then you can send me an email. So you click the reading, like book now, and an email window will pop up, and you send me an email, and we'll go from there, okay? And if none of that works, at the bottom of that page, my email address is there, so that you can just send me an email directly, okay? So that's basically what's going on. You said you've been considering trying halal meat as well. I mean, different cultures have like different names for it, you know what I mean? So there's different like versions of that as well, you know, in terms of like cleansing the meat, clearing the meat, these types of things. So it's like, again, there's kind of like this like theme. Do you know what I mean? And again, you kind of have to like be a little bit maybe more like energetically sensitive to like actually tap into the energy and to see like energetically. And you also have to know your own energy to see how it's like affecting you. Something that I don't like is beyond meat. Like I don't trust any of that either, you guys. Like the beyond the meat, all these things. All of like the artificial things. So there's that part of the story too. Even if like you are like in the vegetarian world, like I try to stay away from like all of the, you know, artificial types of like meat imitation types of things, I guess. Once again, just my own opinion from my own experience. Advice for 12th house placements in Aquarius for the upcoming Pluto in Aquarius. So is your Pluto in the 12th house? I'm curious to know. Because here's the thing, you guys. For the 12th house, I have a video on this, I think, actually, on here on my YouTube channel. It would be under probably the 12th house playlist. It's like your shadow traits based off of the sign that you have. Or I think I called it, actually no, I called it how do you unconsciously behave based off of your 12th house. Now obviously like it's like, you know, a shorter video for each of the signs in the house. So you guys can check that out because the 12th house for you guys, like in your chart. So like 12th house for absolutely everybody is occupied by a sign, okay? Regardless whether you have planets in there or not. So everybody has a 12th house and everybody has a sign occupying their 12th house, okay? So this information is going to tell you how do you unconsciously behave, okay? So when you have Aquarius in the 12th house unconsciously, okay, and a lot of the time, again, I'm not a psychologist, okay, but a lot of the time we tend to go into the shadow of the energy because it's unconscious, you're not aware, it's just the way that it is, right? So with Aquarius, you have to look at the shadow of Aquarius because you could unconsciously be playing out these energies, right? So what could this be? You could be very detached. You could be very much like a contrarian, like just to like argue with people. Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes that Aquarius energy can kind of like, you know, someone's like, oh, the sky is purple. And you're like, no, it's green, you know, or like somebody makes a rule. Like, let's say you go to a gym and like now they made like a new rule and they're like, okay, well, now you have to you know, you book your session online before you come in or whatever, something like that. You're like, well, I'm not going to go to the gym anymore because, again, you don't want to follow the rule because it's Aquarius. So it's like, yes, Aquarius can be contrarian and it's good because like they're challenging the status quo, but sometimes they can go too much into fighting against like rules that are like here and there. Do you know what? It's kind of like a pick your battles type of energy. So all right, let me go back up. Hey, stumbling towards wisdom. Hi, how are you? You're Sag Sun, Capricorn rising, and very new to astrology. Yay, I'm so glad. Yes, absolutely. If you guys want your own reading, check out my website and send me an email and we'll go from there. I would love to do a reading for you. I don't do human design, no. I have looked at my own human design like for myself though, but I don't like do it for other people. Okay, I'm just going back up to see if I may have missed any of you guys up here. I do look at the progress chart. I don't look at the solar return for one of you guys that was asking earlier. You're welcome. You're welcome. Let's see. You said Pluto in the second house in Sagittarius. You've been practicing to simply appreciate what you have. Exactly. So it's like when you shift like the focus, it comes to you. So everyone has something in their life. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like you feel in a scarcity of that particular thing. So your focus is on that thing because it's in scarcity. Do you know what I mean? For some people, because it's Pluto in the second house, it could be finances. If you have like Pluto in the seventh, maybe it's relationships, whatever, right? So everyone has that like area. So it's like if you can distract yourself, that's how you like start to manipulate the energy for yourself in your life, right? So if you distract yourself from that thing and you just do other things that you love and you don't focus on that anymore, and now you're just like loving life in general, you'll see that that thing like comes to you faster, right? Because you're not trying to hold on to it, right? Because it's like you're trying to control it, you know, and control, I mean, maybe it worked up until like a certain point in time, but not so much as we go into the higher vibrations, right? Because it's just like when you're controlling something or trying to control an outcome, it's coming usually from an ego-driven place, or it's coming from like a place of like lack or fear or scarcity or self-preservation, these types of things. So it's all about self-awareness at the end of the day. You said, what would that mean for Pluto in the 8th house? I have a video on Pluto in the 8th house. You know, it's interesting for these people, Pluto in the 8th house, the area that you're trying to quote unquote like control. So here's the thing with Pluto, you guys, okay? Pluto, when you're younger, you feel powerless in that area, okay, whatever house you have it in. So the sign is the whole generation, so it's going to affect you and the generation as a whole, okay? The house affects you more. So Pluto, when you're younger, you feel powerless in that area, okay? And then when you're older, you try to control it so you don't feel powerless again, right? And then in you trying to control it, you're actually either, you know, exhibiting shadow behaviors or pushing it away or whatever, right? However it manifests. And eventually you want to neutralize somewhere in the middle. So that's kind of how you heal the energy, kind of go through this like pendulum swing, okay? So for Pluto in the 8th house, the area where you may have felt powerless in when you were younger could be vulnerability, could maybe be spirituality, could be, let's say, sexuality, could, let's say, be your, you know, like expression of like mediumship abilities or psychic abilities, or maybe you were into the occult, you know what I mean? These types of things, right? So it's a lot for Pluto in the 8th house, right? Maybe you had mediumship abilities and maybe you know, like family members around you scared you out of practicing that, right? And then let's say sometimes these people, like, because they're like trying to disown that part of themselves, maybe there's fear around it. You go into the other end of the spectrum, right? Where it's like, maybe you go into like a super religious route, for example, right? And it's like you completely disown this aspect of yourself, just as a random example, right? I'm not saying this is you, but like as a random example, right? And eventually you neutralize somewhere in the middle where you're like, okay, hold on, all these things can coexist together, and how can I put all of these pieces together, okay? Or let's say, because it's Pluto in the 8th, it could be in the area of your vulnerability. Maybe when you were younger, you know, maybe you were more sensitive and you had a lot of feelings and you got suppressed and you weren't able to express your emotions, right? So then maybe when you grow up, you become emotionally unavailable, or you don't express your emotions because you're trying to control, you know what I mean? That area. But then like the power in the 8th house, especially Pluto in the 8th, is, you know, understanding the emotions, the range of emotions, feeling all the things, and like knowing how to process these energies within you, okay? So that's kind of like the idea. Pluto in the first house is interesting because this gives you the undertone of having a Scorpio rising, okay? So with this energy, what can take place is like when you're younger, okay, you could be like or feel powerless in the area of, and usually like it's going to be some sort of person. It's usually the original two caregivers. I mean, everything starts with them. And again, I'm not a psychologist, but then it perpetuates throughout your life, right? People taking, you know, your power away from you in this area. So Pluto in the first house, for example, can be like, you know, it's the area of the self, it's the self-expression. And then when they are older, you know, they come off intimidating, right? But like even the intimidating energy could maybe be like, let's say you were bullied when you were younger, right? You weren't able to express yourself. And then the intimidating energy is kind of like so people don't come towards you. But it's like, sometimes it could be unconscious, I guess, the energy where you're like coming off intimidating. But sometimes people are putting on that energy. Do you know what I mean? I hope you guys are kind of following. And then eventually you want to neutralize somewhere in the middle, right? Where it's like, again, you know, you have this like powerful energy within you because Pluto in the first house is super, super powerful energetically, right? Speaking the truth and like, you know, being okay with speaking your mind and kind of like being yourself and expressing yourself, right? That's kind of like the energy and it's like full form, I guess you can say. All right, I'm going back up to see what else you guys were saying up here. You said, how is Pluto in Aquarius going to affect you for the next 20 years? You have Pisces Sun, 3rd house, Sagittarius rising, and Sagittarius moon in the 12th house. I'm curious to know more so like where do you have Aquarius in your chart? Can you tell me what house you have Aquarius in? Here's the thing, you guys, it's a long transit, so you guys don't have to worry or freak out about what's going to take place because of the fact that it's so long, you probably won't feel it, if that makes sense, okay? Because it's like, it'll be over an extended period of time, okay? You'll go through some sort of change is basically what that is with that Aquarius energy. But I'm curious to know if you're still in the room, like what house you have Aquarius in. Okay, DJ, I'll get you in just a second. I'm just gonna go back up here and see what you guys were saying. You said it's interesting that everyone in this tribe is saying energy is heightened. Has lightened. Exactly. Feeling your intuition, the energy has greatly intensified this week. It's just been intense in general, you guys. But this week for me personally, it's kind of been like reduced energetically compared to last week. The energies are still intense. I will say that much. Absolutely. But it's like not as intense as it was last week. That's just kind of what I'm tapping into. It was really, really intense last week. And I thought it was like, cause I went to like a Halloween thing. So I was like, did I pick up on some like dark energy from that? But then it just like, you know, carried throughout the week. So it wasn't just that. I think it's just like the energies like out there, out in the streets. Hey, Amsterdam, how are you guys doing? You said you have to transmute your parents' energy as children. Here's the thing. This is the way that I see it. You don't have to technically transmute anybody's energy, but if you've internalized some of their energy as your own, then you'll have to transmute that. And sometimes people are transmuting without realizing that they're transmuting. This is why it takes like a period of time for you to like get in tune with your soul, okay, and your heart space, and what is it that you want to do, who are you as a person, these types of things. You know what I mean? To take off other people's energies off of you is really what that is. Because the thing is, you technically don't have to be transmuting for anybody if you think about it. Do you know what I mean? But sometimes people internalize things so much that it's like now it's become a part of your identity. I hope that this makes sense, right? And now because it's a part of your identity, you're playing out certain things and it's like those things aren't even who you are though. It's like something that you've internalized as your own. And it's like now because you've merged to it, it's like now you're transmuting it. I hope that that makes sense, right? So if you don't want to do it anymore, just like energetically be like, okay, like first you have to have the awareness. You're like, okay, this is the trait, but it's not my own energy. I'm like basically clearing this energy and taking it off of me, like cutting cords basically with the energy. I really, really hope that that makes sense. So, but up until that point in time, like you could unconsciously be playing these energies out is basically what that is. That's kind of like when people talk about generational healing and these types of things, it's this, right? Because certain things get passed down, until they kind of get to the person who wants to address it or heal it, right? But the thing is, it's like you could be the one that's transmuting it, but at the same time, that might not necessarily be part of what your soul is wanting to do. Do you know what I mean? I hope that makes sense, because a lot of things are projected, okay? Especially when it comes to family, and even if you like live with, and you're younger, let's say, and you live with these people, it's like they're projecting, let's say, an idea onto you or something that they want for you onto you. This is why astrology is good, because astrology will tell you where are your gifts, right? And usually astrology is going to confirm your intuition. So it depends, right? You said, what effect does it have when we overthink? Basically, overthinking is... Okay, here's the thing with overthinking. This is my opinion, once again, okay? The overthinking is you going too much into maybe the logical mind. Depends kind of what's going on with your Mercury, right? Because it's like usually most people aren't equipped to listen to their intuition. What everybody wants to do, and the point you want to get to is you want to get to the point where it's like your intuition is so strong that you're just acting on that intuition. Do you know what I mean? And it's like most of the time the intuition isn't logical, right? So if you're in an overthinking energy, there's probably something going on where it's like, it could be a few things. Maybe it's your intuition is trying to tell you one thing, and then like the ego mind is either trying to keep you feeling safe, secure, comfortable in the same area of life, right? And that's what the ego does. Like people demonize the ego. And I was just saying this to someone recently, okay? So here's the thing, okay? Especially the new age demonizes the ego, and they're trying to tell everyone not to have an ego, but it depends on you as a person. Because sometimes if people are in the shadow masculine energy, well, they need to work on their ego, right? Because like their whole persona is the ego identity, right? But then you have other people who are more in the feminine energy, who are kind of like, you know, they don't have the strong solar plexus chakra, so they actually have to develop an ego. They have to develop boundaries. That's the way that I see it. Like the ego is in your solar plexus chakra, right? The thing is with the ego, you guys, it's like the ego is always going to want to preserve you and like your current circumstance, and it wants to keep you feeling safe and secure and comfortable, right? The thing is, when you're comfortable, maybe there's something that you want to do, but it's like you're going into anxiety because it's like the ego is kind of like, no, stay here, but this thing is pulling you in this direction, and you're going into this like internal conflict because it's like, again, you kind of have to get to the point where it's like the desire or whatever it is that you're trying to do, that's usually like your higher self pulling you in a certain direction, that has to become stronger than the ego's need for comfort and safety and security. So that's why sometimes you guys can play around with the energies for yourself once again and do things that either you fear or scare you. Like let's say, for example, you've always had a fear of going to an event alone. Well, that probably means that you should do exactly that, right? To overcome that fear, right? So that's one thing with the overthinking, and it's pretty much this, like self-preservation and like these types of things. I'm really curious to know if you're still in the room, like what sign do you have in your Mercury? You said, wow, parents' energy. Yeah, it's a huge thing. It's a huge thing because kids like really internalize the parents. So it's this. It's a lot of like, it's not even yours. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of the time, it's like, again, things that are even like outdated belief systems or old belief systems. Because it's like certain things that work for certain generations, they work for their period of time. Do you know what I mean? Now we're going through an acceleration, right? So it's this. Hey, Mystic Journal, how you doing? How you guys doing? You said Scorpio moon and Mars, so you're mixed up. So you mix up your emotions and logic. You're a Virgo, Sun, and Mercury. That's all you do. In terms of, let me know in terms of what? Oh, you said something up here. Let's see. Aquarius interceptors. That's another thing that I wanted to tell you guys too about the 12th house. Also check, you guys, when you're checking to see what are certain shadow traits you guys might have, you guys want to see also, do you have an interception that's taking place in your 12th house? Because that's going to be even sneakier than the 12th house itself, okay? Because it's like intercepted, it's suppressed within you. So for example, let's say you have Aquarius in the 12th house, maybe, okay, maybe you have, let me think, maybe you have Capricorn also intercepted in that 12th house, for example, okay? And then it's like that's creeping behind the scenes, and it's like that could be taking over even more shadow energy that you might have to integrate within the self, okay? How are you guys doing? The election, I spoke on it a little bit earlier. I have an idea. I'm just not going to go into that. I'm just happy that I feel like with whatever the outcome is, it's not going to be as chaotic as I originally had tapped into. I'm just going to leave it at that. That's kind of what I'm picking up on, Kate. I'm picking up on a lot of like not as chaotic energy as I had originally tapped into, because it's like everything is so polarized. But yes. The thing is, you guys, even in terms of the election, like it's like none of these people are like, they don't have anyone's best interest at heart. You know what I mean? Like they're all in the same bed together. This is what's important to understand with these types of things. It's like, it's all a charade, and it's like, it's this. So the good thing is, I just don't think it's going to be as like the outcome, like whoever wins, I don't think it's going to be as chaotic as originally I was tapping into like when I was like a few months ago. So that's good. You said weird experience. You told a friend that you felt like a male relative was trying to communicate with you, you were engaging in medium activity, and a family member who you never thought of came through then, and then you said, you realize he has the same eyes that you do, ooh, Pisces eyes, and you said you need to take a break from that mediumship activity. Yeah, you said let the election be the election. Honestly, yeah, like that's why I just like I don't prescribe to any of that, because again, like those people, here's the thing, in my opinion, like someone who should be leading the country shouldn't be someone who is elder. And I don't mean that in a sense where it's like anything to do with age in terms of like, you know, ageism or whatever. I just mean it in the sense where it's like, I always saw it as like someone who's leading the country should be like up to date with like, you know, things that are happening with the young people, because it's like the young people are the ones who are going to be the future leaders of the country. So it should be someone who is like younger. Do you know what I mean? Not like these people that are currently in these positions. I don't know. I hope that that makes sense, right? So it's this. Hello, dear friend. Right? So it's just like it's all really interesting. You said how to cut the parents' energy, and then you said it's not good for you. Yeah, okay, you guys can, it depends, right? It depends on your circumstance, because sometimes it depends on your relationship with them too, because sometimes, let's say you live with them, well, maybe not living with them if that's possible, to kind of get out of enmeshment. It could be this. Sometimes I've noticed it depends on what's going on with the person's chart, like moving away, right? So you're not as energetically enmeshed with them, for example. Or there isn't a difference. It depends how energetically enmeshed the dynamic is, right? Because it's like, if you're living with them or anybody you guys live with, even if it's like roommates, you will enmesh into that person's energy, right? So it's this. So it's that. And then just like reflecting and like seeing like, again, who are you as a person? Who are you at the core? These types of things, okay? Hey, you said new follower, you love, yay, I'm glad that you love it. You said, can I give you a quick insight on having Mars and Jupiter in the 10th house Taurus together play out? So you have Mars and Jupiter, and that's wealth, okay? That's wealth, and you have it in Taurus. That's nice. I like Mars and the earth signs. That's just my own opinion, okay? Because Mars is fast, it's Aries, it's like impulsive, it wants to go everywhere, right? It loves starting, right? That Aries energy, but when it's in the earth signs, the earth energy is going to ground it, right? So with that energy, there's the potential for wealth, okay? So it's like Taurus and Mars, right? Or like having a Mars in Taurus, like that energy, it's gonna help you ground your ambitions. It's gonna sit down, it's gonna be patient, it's gonna be slow and steady, wins the race, and like these types of things, okay? And then you have it in the 10th house. So all of that being in the 10th house, it's like this is wealth, right? And abundance. But keep in mind, you guys, okay? If you're not, again, if you're not involved in certain groups where they kind of have certain access codes and like they kind of speed things up for themselves, I'm reading between the lines, right? If you're not involved in those groups and you're an everyday person, Saturn is maturing after the age of 35, right? So it's the 10th house. So it's something that you're working towards. So usually Saturn rewards you as you work towards something, okay? As you work towards some sort of goal, some sort of ambition. So it's like, for you, for example, maybe you have some sort of goal in mind, right? And you could have started hustling at a young age, because from a higher self level, you know, right, that the more time and effort and energy you're putting in toward the thing, Saturn in the 10th house is going to reward you, okay? So it's basically this. And also that 10th house is going to knock you down, right? It's just the way that it is with the energy. Saturn's kind of like, you know, knock the person down 7 times, get up 8, like that type of vibe, right? Because Saturn is asking you, how bad do you want it, right? So it's like if you get knocked down easily, well, Saturn's like, okay, I guess you didn't want it. That's kind of how Saturn works. It's kind of like a tough parent energetically. You said enmeshment, exactly. That's the whole thing with the water energy. So everything that I said to you guys earlier in terms of like, if you guys feel like you are very energetically porous, energetically open, like you merge to people's energies very easily, you guys have to focus on grounding into your person, figuring out who you are, what are your likes, wants, needs, and desires. Again, developing that strong solar plexus chakra, boundaries, doing things that you guys love, like all these things. Check out my How to Stay Grounded as a 12th house person video, even if you're not a 12th house person, because they give you guys different like tips and tricks that you guys can do to close your energetic field, so you're not merging to other people, because then it's like, you know, unconsciously you merge to them and you're playing out, let's say, like their karma and these types of things, and it's like that has nothing to do with you. It's just the fact that you're energetically sensitive, right? But that's something that you have to master in this lifetime. Do you know what I mean? Not being energetically like open and merging to everybody that is around you. I really, really hope that that makes sense. So again, like doing things that kind of get you into that higher vibration, going to the gym, exercising, things that you love, finding like a hobby that you like, so you can kind of put your focus into that thing, because all that raises your frequency. And then when your frequency is raised, you're not necessarily like engaging or like meshing or like merging with people as much. I hope that makes sense. You're like, you're so sensitive. Yeah. especially like certain individuals who are more watery, or like 12th house people, or again, even if you have Neptunian aspects, like these types of individuals, you're going to be like energetically open and sensitive. And then you're going to be psychic too. Saturn in the 5th house in Aries, so you got restricted on expressing the self, so you're meant to master that in this lifetime. And then the 5th house is interesting, you get restricted in the area of creativity and the inner child. So what's interesting with that energy is like there's a karma around children. So either you have kids when you're young, okay, with Saturn in the 5th, because it's karmic, okay? Or you can have kids around your Saturn return, or you might not have kids at all. But the best case scenario for Saturn in the 5th is if you do want children, to wait after Saturn matures, because that's when you will enjoy your time with your kids. Or you'll just do the inner child healing for yourself, and then you might not have kids at all if you don't want to, right? So that's kind of like the Saturn in the 5th house karma. You said you realize that you like watery men, preferably Cancerian men, maybe just a hint of evolved Scorpio. Yes, keyword evolved Scorpio, because that energy, when it's not evolved, is just bad news bears. And then you said the care and emotion soothes the pain of your Capricorn stellium. That's the thing, you guys. You really have to become, here's the thing, like nobody teaches spiritual strength and nobody teaches energetic strength. If you guys are in the chat, make sure you guys double tap the screen, because that's going to like the video. Thank you so much. But yes, so when you guys have, when you guys are open, when you guys are porous, like you guys have to really focus on developing your solar plexus chakra, which is your ego, which is your identity, which is your sense of self, like all these things. You have to focus on developing the ego. You have to focus, thank you guys for the likes, is really this, because the thing is, okay, because here you said, yes, when you mesh, like when you get energetically enmeshed with someone, and let's say that person is dealing with something, let's say that person is not stable, let's say that person is not energetically stable, you are now taking on all of that energy. And this is like if you're in proximity to them, let alone sleeping with this person, okay? That is a whole different level of enmeshment energetically, right? So that's why like you have to really, really pay attention to what's going on energetically behind the scenes, okay? It's all energy at the end of the day, because we're all actually energetic beings. The whole reason like there's like a physical form down here is because of the frequency that we're at, but everything that's happening is actually energetic, okay? Is really what that is. So it's interesting to see, because it's like people who are a little bit more psychically in tune, they're going to usually see someone for who they are. Do you know what I mean? Even if they're very good at veiling who they are. Usually energy vampires are very good at veiling who they are, or even like narcissistic people who are energy vampires, because those people are usually operating out of their lower 3 chakras, and they're usually like very fragmented energetically. And like, I call this a high level narcissist, but like it doesn't have to be someone who is like higher or whatever, like better than people. I just call it high level, because someone who is like a dark magician type of narcissist, like they're very good at pulling your energy out of you and mirroring it back to you. So it's like there's a lot happening energetically behind the scenes, so you have to become like very, very well aware. And it's like you can only become very, very well aware when you become grounded in your person, is basically what that is, right? So like from day one, when people incarnate down here on this earth plane, everything is a distraction, is really what that is, okay? Everything is a distraction to like pull you out of your person, get you out of body, try to get entities attached to you, so people don't really know who they are, is really what that is. So you have to spend the time, if you have the gift of time and you're blessed, okay? If you have the gift of time, spend the time with yourself, okay? In your own energy, figure out who you are, what are your likes, wants, needs, and desires, because then people can't project onto you, and then they can't hook into maybe certain wounds that you have, so they can kind of like, because the thing is, like even with like narcissistic people or energy vampires, what they do is they hook into maybe a wound that you have, right? It could be, let's say, like your need for validation, or, you know, like they pick up on what it is. They're like intuitive, but like in a shadow sense. I hope that makes sense, right? Or it's like maybe you have an abandonment wound, or maybe they like figure out how to control you in one way, shape, or form. It's something to do with like a wounding or like a soft spot or whatever it is, okay? So it's like they hook into this, and then they slowly control you, and then they're maneuvering you, and then you become the battery pack for them, because they can't produce their own life force energy. So there's just like so much to say. Yay, I'm so glad that it's resonating. Yay, I'm so glad that it's resonating. You said astrology of high-level magician / narcs. It's hard to pinpoint, because I think any of the signs can go into narcissism, but the ones that you will have to pay attention to are usually like the more spiritual signs. So shadow Scorpio, shadow Sagittarius, shadow Pisces, shadow, these types of things. And then if they have like a combination with like something else, but it's like, again, you know, a lot of these like dark magician energies are usually people who are very spiritually inclined, or just like open energetically, or like psychically aware, but they're maybe not aware that they're psychically aware. It's like kind of like a survival thing, but like in the shadow aspect of things. Because the thing is, like, even with like narcissism, like in terms of like when people talk about like empath and narcissist and these type of things, like these people, like the empath and the narcissist, like why they're magnetized toward each other is like they carry a lot of similar traits. It's just like one is the light version and then the other one is the shadow version. It's basically what that is. Okay. So it's like this. So it's important to understand when someone is like a high level, like dark narcissistic, like high level dark magician or whatever, like whatever way, shape, or form you want to look at it, when they're operating with the dark, and like this whole world is operated by that, by the way, I'm just gonna slip that in there, okay? It's all dark magic. But anyways, if it's like an everyday person that enters your vicinity, what they're trying to do a lot of the time is they're trying to get into your energy field. And a lot of the time what they're gonna do also energetically is they're gonna try to get into your sexual energy field. Because when they're in your sexual energy field, then they hook into your energy and then they're siphoning your life force energy off of you, okay? So that's why like maybe sometimes with them, you know, even like the term love bombing, or they're trying to rush things, or they're trying to make everything seem so grand in the moment because they're trying to actually ultimately get into your sexual energy field. I hope that makes sense, okay? So that's what it is, because they want to hook into your energy field and then they want to siphon your life force energy even when you are not present, okay? So if you feel like you've been in a situation like this, like try to figure out a way to cut cords energetically with this person, or maybe you can find a meditation online or something of that sort where you're calling your power back to you. I mean, at the end of every day, you guys can even just say that in your mind because everything is telepathic. At the end of every day, you guys can even say to yourselves before you're going to bed, I'm calling all my power back to me, cutting cords with like any person that I've engaged with today, right? And these types of things. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah, I'm glad that it resonates. You said, hold on, let me just go back up here and see if you said something earlier. You said you just realized you have been close friends with someone exactly that I just described. She learned your wounds and used them against you. Exactly. It happens in all relationships. It's not just romantic. It's going to be amplified times like 500 million, especially if you're like sexually involved with the person. Absolutely, it's going to be amplified, right? But it could be in a friendship. It could be a family member. It could be a coworker, like anyone who's in your energetic field, okay? Because you guys, you have to understand this, right? A random person that doesn't know you really can't affect you energetically, okay? It's usually someone who is in your energetic space, right? So you have a cord connected to that person. Let's say you talk to them, you know, maybe once a week, or you work with them and you see them all the time. Like cords are created with these people, right? Let's say it's a friend. A lot of the time it's going to be a friend of me, right? Someone who's around you, and it's like they can learn these things about you, and like for whatever reason, like they could just be operating again out of the lower vibration. Maybe they're not malicious, maybe they have an entity attached to them. Like it can be so many things. It could be so many things, right? Because like not everybody is positively polarized, right? It actually takes a lot of inner work to get to the positive polarization, because you have to integrate the shadows, right? So this is why I teach you guys, or like I tell you guys to focus on the lower chakra wounds, because when you guys master those, and nobody can control you energetically, right? Because everything on this earth plane comes down to energetic control, okay? People siphoning your energy, taking your energy from you, you know, trying to use you as an energy battery pack. Because you might see like sometimes you just being around this person that like things start to happen for them, but they're actually siphoning off of you. Or maybe you might notice something that you wanted, like maybe you never said it to that person, but you wanted it in your mind, and then you see it happen for that person because there's this cord attached, right? And sometimes these people, either they're aware or they're not aware. It doesn't really matter because it's happening energetically behind the scenes, right? So it's like either they're aware that they're doing it or they're not aware that they're doing it, right? It doesn't really matter because again, your energy is still being siphoned off of you, okay? I hope that makes sense. So that's kind of what's happening there. Oh, you said had no idea that they're able to siphon your energy after you've gotten no contact. Well, you'll know someone's siphoning your energy if you think of them. Do you know what I mean? That's how you know the energy is being siphoned, okay? So it's like if you think of them or they randomly pop into your mind, because the thing is, you guys, somebody can look at your photos and like, let's say they've had energetic access to you. Yes, you can cut them out of your life and they might not necessarily be siphoning your energy, but if it's someone that you were maybe sexually enmeshed with, in that case, there could still be the cord connected to that person. I hope that that makes sense, right? So if it's like a random friend or whatever, like it might not affect you as much, because the thing is you have to cut it and then you have to raise your frequencies, basically what that is. But like, let's say you post photos online, sometimes people can look at your photo and send you energy, and now all of a sudden you're getting these thoughts and these ideas that aren't necessarily yours, is basically what that is. That's what it all comes back down to: frequency and energy and raising your vibration. So that's the thing with the new age. Like the new age is right in some things, and in some things, like again, it's two truths and a lie, right? So they talk about raising your vibration, but they focus on spiritual bypassing, which is like everyone is in like la la land and like, you know, holding hands together and like dancing in a circle, which is fine, right? Like for an event, right? But that's not the reality of things. The reality of things that's happening down here on this earth plane is like people are trying to siphon your energy off of you, right? And even the people who go super into the new age and they're just like chilling all the time and like singing kumbaya, right? Like even their energy is being siphoned energetically because they're not using it toward anything. They're just kind of like chilling. I hope that makes sense, right? So it's like it's an elaborate discussion. Like there's so much to talk about because there's like a lot of layers to the story. But the thing is, ultimately at the end of the day, you want to figure out what's going on with your soft spots or your triggers or your wounds or your unhealed aspects or your fragments, what's going on with all of that, okay, for yourself, usually in the lower 3 chakras. I talk about the chakras because it's an easy way to pinpoint and compartmentalize things so people can understand, but it doesn't have to be connected to the chakras. Do you know what I mean? It can be just like a trait, whatever, right? Regardless, okay, what's going on with these things, figure that out for yourself so nobody can control you through those things. That's ultimately what it comes down to. And then when you come out of your own lower chakras, you can now start to develop a strong solar plexus, because as you develop a strong solar plexus, okay, you start to expand your aura outward, okay, and then your spiritual strength becomes stronger. That's what it all comes down to, okay? So it's like when your spiritual strength is strong and you have a strong aura, people can't affect you energetically as much anymore, right? But everything is made to lower people's spiritual guards down, right? Substances, not sleeping, stress, like all these things, right? Sometimes you can't avoid it, which what I mean is like you can't, spiritually bypass and just like completely disconnect from the world, which is part of the 12th house karma, I find, because a lot of 12th house is like, I don't want to engage, so I'm going to disconnect and go into isolation completely. You can't be in that either. Do you know what I mean? Because there's still something here that the soul wanted to do, right? That's the way that I see it. So it's like you want to master these things, strengthen your aura, strengthen your energy, right? Your energetic field, whatever that means for you. Okay, I just give you guys, ideas and tips and tricks that maybe work for me and, resonate for me, right? But you guys might discover something else, right? And that might work for you. Maybe for you it's going to be dancing, or it could be sewing, or it could be knitting, whatever, doing something that you guys love, right? And it's like, then you kind of put your power back to yourself. It's the solar plexus chakra. It comes back down to that, right? So it's this. So it's like, again, if you're thinking about someone or you're getting so upset or you're getting mad, they're siphoning your energy. That's how you guys will know that your energy is being siphoned. If someone is on your mind or in your energetic field, because people can send you their thoughts, okay? Most of the time, it's going to be people who are in your direct energetic field, okay, you are in contact with, but sometimes it could be someone that you are not in contact with, or if you've been sexually enmeshed with this person, you want to reclaim your power back, okay? I hope that all that makes sense. You said narcissists are absolutely, because the earth plane is narcissistic, okay? So that's something, so here's the thing, you guys, we all have to look at ourselves, right? Everyone has narcissistic traits because the earth plane is narcissistic, right? It's just the way that it is. That's the way that the structure is. So it's like, first you have to look at that within yourself. It's levels of it, right? Not everybody is this dark magician that I'm telling you guys about. Absolutely not. And not everybody's doing it out of a harmful reason, right? But it's like, first people have to look within themselves and see how have they internalized these traits within themselves first, right? That are part of the system, that are part of survival and so on and so forth. And then you will start to recognize it in other people and, again, reclaim your power back to yourself. I hope that all of that makes sense. You said, yes, DJ, let me go back and see. You said Saturn in Aquarius, Mars in Aquarius, Lilith in Aquarius. You want to help people in health and wellness. You said, but people also get on your nerves. Scorpio moon and Aries rising as well. Yeah, that's a struggle, right? As a Scorpio moon, you're going to want to be in isolation. But the thing is, you're going to have a lot of healing energy. So finding a balance, is all that you can do at the end of the day. And you know what's interesting? Aquarius karma is actually to help people go on their path. So it's so interesting because it's like you're kind of intuitively picking up on what you're meant to be doing. But yeah, the Scorpio moon is not going to want to engage with people, again, because of absorbing of energies. People want to siphon your energy, these types of things. It's aware, whether, again, it's conscious or unconscious, they're aware, right? But the thing is, again, figuring out what works for you. Is it, you interact with the people, then you take a lot of time to yourself? Or is it you interact and then you go on a walk? Or you go out in nature? Do you know what I mean? It comes back down to you as a person. Can I share my thoughts behind Scorpio 9th house stellium, Jupiter in the 12th house? So this is spiritual knowledge that you've got going on in here. And basically the Scorpio is the transmuter, okay, of energy, the healer. You basically are here to, again, transmute the lower vibrational things in this life, okay? Which would be like jealousy, control, manipulation, all these things, and then go into the higher vibrations is basically what that is, okay? Jupiter in the 12th house, hold on one second. Jupiter in the 12th house could be like abundance. So you could be blessed with abundance in this lifetime. Like it could be something that you don't have to think about, for example, when you have Jupiter in the 12th house, or it could also be a form of spiritual teacher as well, okay? So you have a lot of higher minded spiritual knowledge. You're just probably gonna have to focus on grounding it into this physical realm and into this physical reality. It's probably something that you've already mastered in a previous lifetime. You said first they pop into your thoughts, then you don't energize the thoughts. Exactly, they might come through. Exactly. Oh my gosh, that is another way people send. See? We are all on the same page here, you guys. You guys totally understand what I am saying. It's exactly this, okay? They're gonna pop into your mind, and then sometimes this is how you know, especially when it's an energy vampire and they're trying to penetrate through your energy, they will try to come into your dreams energetically, okay? Or maybe they're obsessively thinking of you or whatever, okay? So just something to keep in mind. You said yes, like if they randomly pop into your mind for no reason at all, you're personally not thinking. Exactly. That's how you know it's someone that's sending you energy usually, because we're telepathic, you guys, right? So if you randomly start thinking of someone and you have no reason to think of them, it's completely unprovoked, they're probably thinking of you, right? They kind of sent you that thought, okay? And it's like if you start thinking of them, then I call it energetic ping pong, okay? Because it starts bouncing between the two people. And it's like the more you think of something, it turns into emotional energy, okay? Yeah, I do talk fast, actually. You know what's really interesting? In my grade 7, I think it was grade 7, in my grade 7 yearbook, I need to find this yearbook and show you guys, okay? It's somewhere in a box. But in the yearbook, I wrote, I talk so fast, I can make your head go whoosh. So sometimes when people comment that on my posts, like on here, I always ask, when they say, oh, you talk fast, I'm like, did I make your head go whoosh? It's like an inside joke with myself, but now you guys are inside my inside joke. You said you're trying to be a better communicator because you're always labeled as quiet and having a hard time communicating. Exactly. Oh, it's interesting. You had all of the third house, right, Winnie? Let me go. Okay, it's probably way back up there at some point. But I think I remember you saying you had all the Sag in the third house. Thank you. Thank you. You guys are awesome. I know. You know what? In my mind, I'm like, I just laugh to myself is really what that is. I can make your, I know, I was so hilarious. Oh my goodness. Like when that was grade 7, you know, and I'm like so funny. Then it's like, this is what I mean. I'm like laughing, but I'm laughing at myself for being hilarious. Hey, how are you guys doing? Here's the thing, I can talk about things that I'm interested in, but if I'm not interested in the topic, I'm not going to talk. So it's interesting, I think to myself sometimes that I'm like, am I introverted or am I extroverted? Because I can go both ways. Like I can be extroverted, but I can be introverted as well. It depends on the vibe. It depends on the people around. It depends like what's going on with their energy. It really depends. But if there's like an interesting topic and I like talking about that topic, I will talk. Do you know what I mean? But if there's something that I'm not interested in, I'm not going to talk. I'm just going to take a step back and observe and see what's going on. You said wondering when it's more if you're not the one thinking about them and then they still pop into your mind randomly. They're probably thinking of you. They're sending you vibes. That's kind of how it works. Or you popped up on their feed or they went on your Instagram profile or whatever, okay? It's basically what that is. It's basically what that is. I'm so glad that it resonated with you. Yay. You said, so if someone pops in your head or your dreams, it's not a sign to talk to them again. I'm dead. Usually they're trying to send you vibes, so you message them. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, if they want to talk to you, why don't they talk to you themselves? Everyone has a phone. Do you know what I mean? Like everyone has a phone and most people have fingers. So it's like, you can send a message, right? Or you can talk into it, even that. Let me tell you guys, people will find a way. Okay, let me tell you guys this story and then I'm gonna head out, okay? So one time, how do I speak on this, right? Because I'm trying to like speak between the lines here in terms of like the people. But I had a friend, okay? I had a friend and there was a situation that happened and then the friend didn't have a phone. And I think like my Instagram was deactivated during that period of time. Basically, long story short, this person did not have a way of contacting me at all, okay? Do you know how this person was able to contact me? They were able to contact me by going into their banking and getting my email because they sent me an e-transfer and sending me an email, okay? And this was my friend. So, okay, moral of the story is when someone wants to contact you, they will find some way in this digital age where everybody is available in one way, shape, or form, they're going to be able to contact you, okay? So if they're sending you vibes to contact them, like no one has time for those like energetic games is basically what it is, okay? So you guys, if you guys want your own natal chart reading, if you guys want your own progressed natal chart reading, if you want your own synastry reading, you guys can send me an email. If you guys want a business consultation, I rarely advertise that, but that's on my website too, okay? If you wanted 1 hour business consultation, you guys can sign up for that too, okay? If you guys want to start your business or talk about your business or whatever, okay? You guys can sign up for that too and send me an email and we'll go from there, okay? I'm just checking what you guys are saying in here. Yeah, exactly. It was my email from the e-transfer. I love this life. Okay, you guys, I'm gonna sign off. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of the live. If I missed your question, I'll get your question next time. Keep in mind, you guys, I said at the beginning of this live, when I put up the live, okay, usually about an hour before I'm gonna go live, the chat is open. So you guys can always put your questions in there, okay, before the live starts. And then, you know, I'll answer them if they're in the chat, okay? Thank you guys, and I hope you'll have a beautiful rest of your day, evening, wherever you guys are. Thank you for being a part of this channel. Bye.